Hey, boys and girls, it's Jeremy Vaeni here, and I have gone live. Just because I'm still testing things out. One of the things I'm testing out, this is for the Living Mystery Symposium, June 4th through 6th, is this Netgear Nighthawk mobile hotspot device, which I just bought yesterday. And for some reason, it picks up just enough signal to get me to the AT&T website to tell me that I'm all hooked up, which takes up some data. But then I, for some reason, can't get on any other website, whereas my phone is what I'm actually using as a mobile hotspot. So the phone works just fine, but the other thing that is an AT&T exclusive and supposed to be great, not working at all. Much like all of AT&T. Unfortunately, Carol and I live in a very rural place where AT&T is the only real signal we get out here. But I got to say, having tried to navigate their website, it's terrible. Having talked to customer service representatives from other countries who don't know what the hell you're saying, you don't know what they're saying, and part of that is a language barrier, and part of that is they just don't know what they're doing, is terrible. And then going into the store and being held there for 2 hours while the customer service rep tries to figure out how to move you to a prepaid plan. Because apparently, even though they offer prepaid plans, they treat it like it's some hostile entity. It's some whole other operation that AT&T has to do. And so for 2 hours, she was on with a phone rep, and I had already learned that that won't go well, trying to figure out how to get this thing going. And rather than either of them admitting that they don't know what the hell they're doing, I was there for 2 hours and then was told to come back to do my wife's phone, because even though my wife and I were on the same plan, apparently once she stopped that plan and put me on the prepaid, she couldn't then put Carol on the prepaid. And at first the reason was because she couldn't get the website to work. And I shit you not. And then the other reason was because I'm no longer attached to the account, so I can't do anything on her behalf. So please bring her back to the store. It should take about 15 minutes. Well, we just happened to be in town for a while, so we went back to the store, and she still couldn't do it. So we have to go back in again Saturday and try to get this figured out. And I guess the problem is that Carol's phone number is a New York number, whereas mine is a Hawaiian number. So according to this representative, in 2018, things changed where, like, if you have a phone number from out of state, it's nearly impossible to get it ported over without going through a rigmarole, and asking... Jack Nicholson if he ordered the code blue until he yells, "You're goddamn right, I did." So that's what we're going through, just trying to get a fucking phone to work, and this completely useless revolutionary Nighthawk. And what I really don't understand about these mobile deals is, apparently when this first came out, it was, as far as mobile hotspots go, I guess, revolutionary in some way. And yet AT&T, even though it was an exclusive to them and they bothered to work with Netgear on getting this exclusive thing for them, their attitude toward it seems to be, because the first 2 times I tried to buy it, I was talked out of buying it because your cell phone is just as good. But then, of course, you do some research and you realize, well, if you keep using your cell phone as a mobile hotspot, it's going to burn out your battery pretty quick. And so it would behoove us to just get this thing. And so far, it doesn't behoove us to have done. So there's that. Let's see. I don't even know. I literally didn't advertise this at all, so I don't expect anyone's even watching this as I record it. But what the heck? That's me bitching about AT&T. I could go on. Oh, I could go on. Just try finding anything on their website, and finding misspelled words is fun, or at least duplicated words. I mean, really, it's a bunch of just monkeys coded this thing, back in the 90s, maybe. I don't know when, and never got around to fixing anything. What's really funny is they sent me a survey. How did it go at the store? And the truth is the store was only a part of the problem. But of course, you want to put everything on a customer service representative, right? And what does it matter? Because if you search this stuff, you'll find in their very own forums people with the exact same complaints about their service, their online, their customer service reps, and worse than what I'm describing, dating back to at least 2017, from what I saw. And I didn't do too large of a search. I just literally typed in what the hell is wrong with AT&T's blah blah blah, and up popped, what the hell is wrong with AT&T's blah 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 in the forum. And then you've got like an automated bot response from AT&T saying, "Oh, we're sorry. Let's try to help you with your service." So they've known about these problems since at least 2017. They don't care. They haven't changed anything. And the problem still persists. So why even bother doing the survey, except it makes you feel better to yell into the ether about something, which I'm now doing. Well, I filled the survey out, so with swears. So I guess I'm yelling into the ether twice now. But this is actually a good little lesson about politics in a way, because I was thinking about, now we wonder about and perfect, I'm wearing my Bernie shirt for politics. But well, some people, not all of us, but wonder how it is that there can be systemic racism forever and ever. And even though people have been complaining about it forever and ever. And how it is that we have no real gun control laws in this country when they're keeping mass shootings with the same types of guns, and people have been complaining about it forever and ever. And you can go down the list of things. How is it that billionaires keep getting tax breaks and the little guy keeps getting screwed forever and ever, even though everyone bitches about it? And the answer is, if we are to be honest with ourselves, because no one cares. You care when it affects you, and then you stop caring afterward. But even more to the point, the politicians don't care. And so this is where you get into the notion of oh, it's all just rigged. There's just one big party. It's Vince McMahon pretending that there's good guys and bad guys. And I used to believe that, but that's not true. But it is true to an extent. It is true to the extent that the Democrats are corporately owned and will shed a tear for things like gun control and racial discrimination and police brutality, but then wait till the dust settles and do nothing about it. To that extent, it is true. The Republicans are always going to just do whatever the worst, most selfish, racist, sexist thing is they can get away with. Because a lot of you out there are racist, sexist, horrible, selfish people, and you don't want to admit it, but that is what you are. And so they play to their base, which is some of you, unfortunately, and it works. But what it really does is keep money in their pockets and keep their success and their bloodlines, white people, going and at the top of this hierarchy that we've created for ourselves, this political scheme. It keeps that in place, the patriarchy, the whole thing, by preying on your selfishness and your prejudice. That's just what it is. And so here come the dislikes for this video because, you don't want to hear the truth, but that is the truth. Not true with the progressive Democrats, for the most part. Well, for all part, in terms of all that stuff. Oh, a little birdie just landed on the windowsill. There's a bird fluttering in the window. Hi. Okay. Nature calls. Wait, that means something else. So the point is, I don't think that the entire political system is rigged, even though the corporate system is rigged, even though all the big phone companies got together and, as Carol reminded me, essentially decided, let's take a big dump. We're basically one giant umbrella monopoly. So let's treat people that way. Let's stop competing because people have no choice, right? So they're just going to bounce back between, T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, Verizon, just over and over and over again. So screw it. Provide awful service. Really, I would love for some whistleblower to provide documents to that notion because I'm sure they exist. But in politics, there is some wiggle room with progressives, the so-called squad and the such. I mean, people who really did get into politics because they care and they want to change things and they don't want to be rich, pulled this way and that way, beholden to corporate donor types. But the media, by and large, less now because you can get away with it less now because people sort of know what progressive looks like at this point. But before, they were perfectly willing and happy to tell you that, like, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were liberal, right? Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were never liberal. But to hear anyone from Fox to MSNBC to CNN, any of them talk, you would swear Nancy Pelosi is this, stalwart progressive from back in the day. No, she's a bought and paid for corporate shill. So I guess politically we could get rid of these people, and then maybe they do something with regulations again, and this Nighthawk would work, huh? But I don't know. I guess I'm just saying that because it's been on my mind with the George Floyd thing and the gun violence stuff and all that, of just like, why do we keep going in circles about this stuff? Well, because liberals out there, Republicans already know they don't give a shit, but liberals out there have to, the moderate ones at least, have to get right with themselves that they don't care either. Because if they cared, they'd be voting in people who cared and who would actually vote on these things instead of allowing the wool to be pulled over their eyes. The Joe Manchins of the world, the Republicans in disguise, the Reagan Republicans who are now considered Democrats. Because I know a lot of those people who do believe in, like, Nancy Pelosi and all that stuff. They actually buy into all the corporate Democrat bullshit. And enough already. Enough with our own liberal selfishness disguised as altruism. And for the progressives, I think there is some of that, but it comes in with, like, pot. Like, I hadn't even thought about this until I was watching an episode of the Majority Report yesterday with Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland. And they were talking about marijuana and, like, how if it's going to be legal to walk around smoking pot, that's better than smoking cigarettes because cigarettes get in your hair, the smoke gets everywhere, it's disgusting, it smells disgusting. And at least with pot, it's not like that. Well, yeah, with pot, it is like that. It's just that you guys all like pot. You see, that's where the selfishness comes in. You enjoy marijuana. So they were talking about, is secondhand marijuana smoke bad for you? And Emma Vigeland was saying, well, I don't really know, so I don't really want to talk on it, but I don't think so, but I don't really know. But the point is, you could probably know that, right? You could probably find that out, but you don't want to find that out because that's marijuana and you want to smoke it and you want everyone else to be fine with it. I think it stinks. I think it serves the exact same purpose as a cigarette, which is you just want to relax. Except this goes one step further, which is this can alter your mind. I'm not saying doing damage to your brain or anything like that, but I'm saying it's about escapism. And how much more fucking escapism do we need in America? You got your movies, you got your TV, you got all your Marvel bullshit. Do you really need to, put your head in a stupor 24 hours a day and then risk, passersby also getting into that same stupor? I just don't get it. When do we actually, even those of us who politically do wake up and deal with what's in front of us, but actually treat our own personal lives that way? Maybe there needs to be a wake-up call so that the even the political activists and the greats throughout history who did maybe abuse their spouses, maybe they were alcoholics, maybe they had such a hard time projecting out and trying to do good in the world that they couldn't take care of themselves and they sucked in their own family lives. I know this from some personal experience, just in some small way. But I also know it from being around people who are activists back in the day, when I knew people and wasn't living rural. They tend to, there tends to be a huge discrepancy between their personal lives and the social justice they want to do in the world. So when do we close that gap, progressives, where we treat ourselves correctly, where we come to understand ourselves with the same compassion and the same open-heartedness that we do other people, and do all of these broad issues? And that doesn't mean, becoming a new age bullshit artist who is just constantly like working on myself, or someone who goes to a shrink precisely to go to a shrink to say I'm working on myself. There was that sort of stereotype from, I think, the 80s of like people doing that, right? Going to therapy to brag about how they're going to therapy, or going to therapy just to have bitch sessions forever and ever and ever, and never actually resolve anything. When do we resolve us? When do we do this? Ourandoing.com. Just don't use a Nighthawk to get there. Or if you do, don't live here. I guess I'm talking to myself at this point. I guess I'm talking to myself anyway. All right. There ends my bitch fest. Probably no one enjoyed this. But at least I will get to play this back and see if it looked okay, because maybe I'll just use my mobile phone to after all this. It turns out I didn't eat anything. Why is there a bird still fluttering? This is like one of those weird Disney moments where maybe I should turn the camera around so you can see this before I go. There's a little yellow bird and it keeps jumping up and fluttering in the window. I'm sure the second I do this, it will go away, but let's see what happens here. Can you see that window? You can see the window. Should we wait for the bird live stream? Maybe because it's a small, pudgy bird, it sees this fat guy and is like, oh, my friend. There, do you see him? Hey, bird. What's going on, buddy? Where'd you go? Maybe he's got a nest out there or something? Hey, pal. You all right? What you doing? What's going on, buddy? Huh. Well, this is weird. I don't know what those birds are called, but they're, if you could see that, they're little yellow birds, and they're usually in pairs. And the second they see you approaching, they fly away. Well, this is one, and it seems to want to get my attention. So I'm going to go provide this bird some attention. Yeah. Welcome to the Walt Disney World of the Big Island of Hawaii. Good night, everybody.